2021 was the year of the cryptocurrency. More Americans than ever are taking notice of this transformational technology. DeFi, DAOs, NFTs, Web3, jargon that was really once just used on crypto Twitter, they are quickly becoming part of the lexicon. Technology and its adoption are moving fast. Entrepreneurs and innovators are building and deploying the next generation of the internet. And firms like the ones before us are the on-ramp for many Americans to participate in the digital asset ecosystem. But this panel is only a bit of that broad ecosystem, and this is the first time Congress is having a hearing about cryptocurrencies in its fullness. But as with any new and fast-growing industry, there are questions that need to be answered. I want to be clear, though. This technology is already regulated. Now, the regulations may be clunky, they may not be up to date. I ask my friends, my policymaker friends here on the Hill, this question. Do you know enough about this technology to have a serious debate? Now, if the answer is no, then we need to first seek to understand, to build up that understanding of this new technology so we can have a serious debate on how we appropriately respond and update regulations and perhaps laws. But I should be clear, the goal today is to listen, learn, and ask questions. This technology is new and exciting. It promises a new direction for financial economies, services, and products. I further ask this question, though, how do we make sure as American policymakers that this cryptocurrency revolution, this technology revolution, happens in the US and not overseas? There are a lot of questions we have to answer. But of course, we need reasonable rules of the road. We know that. We don't need knee-jerk reactions by lawmakers to regulate out of fear of the unknown rather than seeking to understand. And that fear of the unknown and the move to regulate before understanding will only stifle American ingenuity and put us at a competitive disadvantage. Throughout history, we've seen examples, countless harmful examples of overregulation around the world by governments. In the late 1800s, England reacted to the rise of cars with laws that required 3 people to operate vehicles at all times. 1 to drive, a 2nd to fuel up the vehicle, and a 3rd to stand in front of the car and wave a red flag. Now, Congress should not be dumb enough to raise a red flag around this technology revolution. We should embrace it, we should understand it, and we should be the international leaders in this space. Further example I would tell you is Skype. The video conferencing platform that may still be a little clunky, but was vital during the COVID shutdowns that we just experienced. And it was vital for some of our kids to even go to school or even have hearings on this massive screen here. Skype was illegal in most of the world when it was launched. There wasn't a regulatory infrastructure in place that allowed this novel technology, this new technology. And finally, when an invention called the internet began to boom, U.S. lawmakers and regulators struggled to fully grasp the immense possibilities of this innovation out the gate. Now, that was the early 90s, and I think we're in a similar state with Web3 30 years later for Congress first to understand before we would seek to legislate. Now, it would be nearly impossible to go a day without using the internet to communicate, we know that, or move from point A to point B, we know that, or purchase necessities for our families, we know that. I would argue that the nascent technology we're discussing today will have just as much impact on our daily lives, perhaps more. And that's why we must get this right. My fear, however, is that we'll have a partisan divide here. Well, my fear is that some of my Democrat colleagues have already made up their minds, and they have regulatory bills that they're going to file in order to stifle this innovation or to kill it before it fully grows and blossoms. I hope we can work together in a bipartisan way, and I hope this hearing is first of many for us to understand and get clarity from innovators and entrepreneurs about what is needed. This will allow us, which I think should allow us to have these markets thrive and grow while protecting our consumers and giving clear rules of the road to prevent fraud and manipulation. Forcing the private sector to navigate unclear public statements and regulation by enforcement is the wrong approach. So is demonizing an entire industry based off the headlines garnered by a few bad actors. Understandably, there are concerns with the use of cryptocurrencies for nefarious activities. Let me address that. You know what else is used for nefarious activities? Cash. So let's dispel the rumor now that digital asset technology is a looming threat to our financial system. Instead, we should work to fully understand the opportunities the next generation of the internet could provide to Americans. I look forward to hearing from our witnesses. I look forward to having a deeper understanding as a policymaker about the ramifications for action by Congress before we understand this new technology that is now actually a decade old. So with that, Madam Chair, thank you for having the hearing. Thank you for working with us on a bipartisan panel, and I hope members will take the same spirit of bipartisan cooperation in their questioning and their seeking to understand. With that, I yield back.
Thank you very